Hi, it's Kam Dovedi from Premier Property, and joining me today is David Whittaker, the CEO of the Keystone Property Finance Group.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, David. So we've just had a presentation, right? We really enjoyed David's presentation. We're talking about 2017. So the people listening in right now, what advice would you give them? So thinking about the changes that are happening in 2017, what specifics would you be doing as an investor to really look at how you can make property work for you in 2017 from the finance perspective?
Okay, so the landscape has changed and continues to change, not just in your world as property investors, but also sadly in my world as a lender. So HMRC landed on your page, and his impact, Mr. Osborne's impact, starts to bite from this year. And in our world, our regulator, the Prudential Regulation Authority, has issued a paper which requires us to change how we behave, which ultimately impacts you guys. So from the 1st of January this year, when you borrow in your own name, we have to apply tougher stress test rules because of the tax changes, which means invariably you can borrow slightly less. So the perceived wisdom is if you're buying new property today, you would probably consider putting it into a limited company. And I say probably because this is all contingent upon tax advice from tax advisors or accountants. So that's the first part of it. Then at the back end of the year, they visit us again and say, you've got to start underwriting these guys with more view to what they already own. And we would say that lenders have traditionally been curiosity-light about other assets you own. Now they're saying that anyone who owns 4 or more mortgage properties will be subjected to a more inquisitive regime with whichever lender they go to. This isn't up to debate whether I do one rule and another lender does another. So we will be asking you for more paperwork, sadly, and it will feel like we're being invasive, but that's the direction of travel. So my advice is if you're thinking of refinancing something, speak to your broker and do it before the 30th of September. And if you're looking at new properties, whether you take my word for it or not, go and see a tax advisor and consider putting it into a limited company.
Okay, so some key points there. So just to sort of add to that, the fact is that as we understand it, the government is looking at people with more than 4 properties to be more sophisticated landlords, owners of property. So they're going to be asking for more scrutinization, as you say. But if you really think about that, what is that really? That's a little bit more analysis, which we should be doing anyway, a little bit more discipline, analyzing deals and projects that we should be doing anyway. And yes, putting that into a format which we should be presenting to good mortgage brokers. I mean, you have a bit of a niche there, don't you, where you've actually the head of a product, Keystones, and you're also head of a mortgage to business as a mortgage broker as well. So product and mortgage brokers, that's brilliant there. So these are aspects we should already be doing, we're already doing, and this is what we show people how to do it. So if you think about it, if you're not doing it right now, maybe now's the time to be doing it.
I think you're quite right. And it's the same for investors as it is in all businesses, that 10 years ago people didn't have up-to-date accounts and they didn't really have a grip of their cash flows. And all the landlords that we see are as business-like in the way they go about their property affairs as if they were running a shop or a business that manufactured product. And I think this is right. What Osborne did was unwelcome, but it's a bit of a wake-up call for the industry at large, for us all to be more professional and business-like about everything that we do.
So that's an interesting point. So especially if you're new, so if you're getting into property, from my perspective that I'm sharing with you, if you're just starting out, you're actually in an excellent position because you can get it right from the beginning. Whereas maybe other people that have actually already built systems or they haven't got any systems and they've been investing for a number of years, they might need to now create those systems. And there's maybe a time where they actually sort of have to look at what they've been doing and how they can actually now implement a system in place, which can take time and effort. So if you're starting out new, you're actually in a privileged position. For experienced investors, exactly what David's saying, if you're like David and you understand the fact that we need to put in position some systems, now is the time to do it. Here's your opportunity to get your systems in place, to get your paperwork in place, so that you can be more proactive. So moving on to development finance. So for developers who are listening in right now, developments where maybe they're buying derelict properties or properties where actually right now they don't have planning approvals, there isn't that planning going on at the moment. What's your take on that as Keystone?
Well, we do have a funding line inside of Keystone for that, but it is a bit of a blunt-edged instrument because we'll only lend against what we can see today in terms of its planning.
Okay.
You may tell me it will get planning for something else, but of course I can't value against a hopeful value.
Yeah.
But certainly we can occasionally come up with a holding proposition for you whilst you get a better planning, and then you come to us with costs and we can roll out a development proposal for you. I think the great thing in the development market is that back in 2009, there was literally one lender in town, good old Close Brothers, because everyone else had gone home. Now you've got people like Royal Bank of Scotland, NatWest Bank, you've got Lloyds Bank doing some. All of the challenger banks have property finance teams and they are competitive and they'll probably lend to higher loan to values. So if you're in developments, do look around beyond the high street. There are plenty of good banks offering good terms. And it's a much better market even this year than it was in 2016.
Okay, so Keystone's, so if I hear you correctly, Keystone will lend on a development itself, on its merit, without the development necessarily. So you'd be willing to look at that, right?
We can do a holding pattern job before it goes into a full development cycle. I'd be the first to say that Keystone probably doesn't provide the cheapest finance for a full development cycle, but that's when our brokerage house can step in and lift it out to an Audible Bank, a Paragon Bank, Hampshire Trust Bank. These are names that people may have heard of, but probably don't know how to readily interface, but they are there.
Okay, so the product's there. The point is that the development can be bought. So with planning game, okay, so for that, let's talk about that first then. So what kind of time frame, if someone's actually looking at a development, looking at something maybe a mixed-use, commercial type of property, they're looking to purchase that, they've done the due diligence, they've got 95% there, knowing that they're probably going to get planning on it, and they're buying that building because of that. What kind of timescale are you talking about for funding for that type of project?
Well, we'd probably look to offer out for 9 months or 12 months on the basis, they'll go to the planners once, you might get kicked around the houses or they'll be outside of their service standards, and you'll know from your experience as a developer, no plan survives the reality of the first morning of conflict. Things happen or things come up, and therefore always build in plenty of cushion.
Good advice there. Absolutely good advice.
Well, we've both been there, haven't we? Sticky conversations when facilities are getting towards expiry about what happens should be avoided.
Yeah. Another question on that is the initial process, because sometimes these deals that we're looking at, these developments, they're really hot projects, which there's a lot of competition, and there's a lot of people going for that same project. That process of the mortgage, that initial process for development. What kind of time frame are we talking about that to actually process that through?
Well, it's a full development project rather than just a hold project where you can put what I call hot money on it. A full development project, we always say about 6 to 8 weeks, because it's going to involve not just the surveyor doing the end value, there's going to be an appraisal of costs. Okay. If it's a big project, the bank will want its QS to look at your own costings to see if the rates per square foot are right. And trust me, then a legion of lawyers come into play, and as we all know, when lawyers are employed, time and money soon run away with each other. So
would it be fair to say if we factor in a 3-month period, a 12-week period, would that be a sensible approach to it? I
think that sounds like that's based on your very powerful empirical experience. I'd agree with you every time. You should always allow 3 months from when you get your hands on a site to when you get money from a lender. It can be done more quickly, but there will always be stuff that comes up. Okay,
so something to bear in mind. So for you guys who are budding developers or you're already developing, 3 months for the first, if you're buying that property. And then for the development finance, after that, are we looking at a similar period, or is that sooner? Once the planning gain has been...
I think it'd be sooner, because what you do is you'd start running it in parallel as you are going through the short-term hold. You'd start building up the package for the development banker to say, look, this is what we're going to achieve, we know what the end values are, we're building up the pack in parallel. So the second you get the planning permission, bang, in you go, everyone confirms the values, because it may come with a CIL contribution, the old Section 106 of old, or other special costs that you have to incur. You just have to rerun the numbers, and you can get that out quite quickly. So the main thing is to get it onto a development facility. The stage payments will have to be agreed when you have a contractual in place, or indeed if you're doing subcontract, what's your schedule of payments?
Which is great. So that's one of the, personally, if you're like me, you like the fact that the great thing about development is once you get that planning gain, the build cost and the financing for that can come from the planning gain, and that drawdown is wonderful when it comes to it.
Well, a proper development bank will attribute the planning gain to you.
Yeah.
and may even leverage off the value of the planning gain because you've created the added value at that point, which then might help you get more money out of the transaction at that interim point.
Okay, so talking about drawdowns now, in my humble experience, I found drawdowns to work in a very interesting way. You know, bank managers sometimes, I'm not going to mention banks and so, they seem to disappear at points, and then they arrive again, and you know, you're looking for them, and you're trying to find them, and you're texting them, you're emailing them, and then suddenly you look into your bank account, and the money's there, where you've been waiting for it on weeks on end.
But yeah,
with Keystones, how do you perform with that? How does that work with you?
we don't do a development program ourselves, but I understand exactly what you're saying. So any of those second line banks I mentioned who are now in the market, they will actually have a QS firm at their point.
Okay.
So when you want your next drawdown, you whistle up the bank or the QS or both.
Right.
They come and write the report to the bank. And normally, if it's a good bank, they will get that money to you within 72 hours because they realise at that point you've got a contractor's bill burning a hole on your desk who you promised to pay within 28 days.
Cash flow is so important, isn't it? Yes.
Yes. You don't want a grumpy contractor because they tend to be bigger than you and wear hobnail boots.
Usually, yes. And how about buy-to-let? What is your take on buy-to-let, the future of buy-to-let? Do you think there's still value in buying those types of properties, so secondary stock and?
Oh, absolutely.
What do you?
Absolutely. You know, we still have this love for property in this country. We still need to house people. We're not building enough housing units. I've read the government white paper with interest. Delivering on what they've promised is totally different from what they've written, and no government has done it in the last 25 years. So property prices will continue to grow, and if you can get a rental yield of 5%, whether you borrow against it or not is a moot point, but I'm not aware of anywhere I can put my money at the moment where I get a 5% return on cash. So even if you don't leverage your investment with a mortgage on it, I would say that buy-to-let is still a sound medium to long-term proposition. It's not a quick in and out. You might be able to buy a property cheaply, do it up and push it out, but I don't call that buy-to-let. That's property renovation and property flipping. And I think the buy-to-let market is solid. There's plenty of lenders, there's plenty of cheap money. You know, at what point in our 25 years of being in business have we been borrowing money sub 5% for a commercial enterprise? And we're below 4% in many instances.
Absolutely true. Such great value out there right now for lending. Such great opportunities. You know, you can really make this work, and you already are making it work, and you can take it to the next level. So you know, it's really good to hear that from a financier. And the CEO of a company who's actually lending as well, rather than just being the broker.
Yes, we're trying to put our money where our mouths are on that subject. We think it's a solid market, and indeed, if you talk to all the other buy-to-let lenders, people like John Heron of Paragon Mortgages and Paragon Group, he's the main board director. He's seen this market in good times and bad, and he is as convinced as ever that this is a good strategy for his bank to be very strong in the buy-to-let space.
Okay, so financiers seem to be happy with buy-to-let.
Yep.
It seems to continue to work. Of course, we've got these changes, and we're all aware these changes are coming along, but we can adapt to them, can't we? If we really want to make this work.
And that's the key, isn't it? It's about, you're in business, you happen to be in a property business here, but in all businesses, you adapt and you evolve. And as long as you listen to what's going on, you change your business model.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. So brilliant. So David, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I know it's a late evening, we've been here all evening, so appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you.